Hello and welcome to your very first video from the only source of information that you need to not only survive the current apocalypse but actually enjoy it. And today I'm going to be talking about you folks, my Facebook friends. About 10 years ago I left Facebook because my feelings were hurt. Well, that isn't actually true. I left Facebook because I feared for my safety. I was getting so much hate on here that it just didn't make me sad. It made me frightened. Unlike the vast majority of civilization's citizens, I do not simply watch what everybody else is saying and try to say something similar sounding in order to fit in. I'm one of those people that simply never learns. When I speak, it is always straight from my heart. It is always what I mean to say, and it always represents what I actually think as a real person. I would never use the precious gift of communication as a tool for manipulating others. At the time when I left Facebook, I think I had almost 300 friends, which were made up of people that I had met at my family reunion, people that I had graduated high school with, and people that were in the Navy with me. And along the way, I picked up a few friends of friends, and eventually friends of friends of friends of friends. And I love everyone, so it's not a deception on my part to call anybody friend. However, it is obvious that in this world, not everyone that we love is actually loving us back. I recently signed into this Facebook account by accident, and to my surprise, most of my 300 or so friends were gone, leaving me just 29 hangers-on. I've been thinking about why anyone would still be my friend after nearly a decade of hardly doing anything with my Facebook page, and I've come up with a few possible conclusions. If you are still on my Facebook friends list, it is very likely that you rarely sign in to Facebook, but there is also the very distinct possibility that you sign in from time to time, are fully aware of the types of things that I am known for posting, and simply cannot turn away from what you perceive to be the never-ending freak show that is me. Another possibility that, although highly unlikely but not completely impossible, is that you are a very open-minded person that is not offended by those of us who openly oppose the current nonsensical way that things are done. I probably would not have left Facebook had I not had anywhere else to go. I am as addicted to attention, love, and respect as the rest of you, and just like the rest of you, I am not getting enough of that out here in the real world. In fact, that's why the guy who invented Facebook is now a very famous millionaire. Anyway, back when I stopped posting to Facebook, I also stopped posting to YouTube. I sat around feeling sorry for myself for a while until one day one of my YouTube subscribers asked me when I was going to post another video, and I told him the sad, sad story of my internet demise. And what he said next turned out to be life-changing. Just start another channel under an assumed name and continue posting anonymously. Now, why didn't I think of that myself? At the time, I was fully expecting to be as well received on my new YouTube channel as I had been on my old one, but I was desperate to try anything, and I was hopeful. I had spent the first 50 years of my life searching desperately for people who felt like I did. People who instinctively understood that something was seriously wrong with how our world worked, but were afraid to say anything out of fear of being abused in the same way that I had been abused over the course of the previous 50 years. I understood that if I could find someone like myself, I could make their life a little more bearable, and hopefully they could do the same for me. So anyway, what I am telling you is that when I shut down my YouTube and Facebook accounts, I simply moved over to brand new anonymous YouTube and Facebook accounts, and believe it or not, my new internet sites are doing much, much better than this one. You all might find this hard to believe, but earthwide there are literally thousands of people like me who refuse to degrade themselves by struggling to achieve some kind of position in the empire's hierarchy. The reason that such a simple solution works so well is because nobody who knew me could find me. And those who did find me had to be specifically looking for someone like me. In other words, People who are doing an internet search about some sports video, political propaganda, or dancing competition were not likely to stumble upon my super secret YouTube channel about truth. To anyone out there who wishes to share anything with others that is actually worth sharing, YouTube and Facebook can be made to work. But you can't just speak openly about such things with everybody. You have to be fairly selective. Most people value their artificial status in Satan's artificial social order so much that to speak honestly about reality can be fairly dangerous. I believe that the vast majority of people who occupy this planet want the truth, but simply are not willing to give up whatever lies define who they are as a person. Another problem with our search for truth is that we are bombarded from the moment that we wake up till the moment that we fall back to sleep with well-presented information designed to manipulate each and every one of us into believing that if we simply stick to the plan, everything's going to work out just fine. I'm here to tell you that sticking to the plan will not work. Everything that you have ever known is about to get very, very not fine. Another obstacle to our quest for truth is that our current access to information is always presented by some kind of short-haired, clean-shaven, suit-wearing, SUV-driving, officially certified spokesmodel for the empire. In all of human history, God has never once used any such vile creature as any kind of mediator between himself and his human children. For some reason, most people never seem to question the integrity of such people. This, despite the fact that none of us has ever in our life met an honest person that would fit such a description. Another problem with people seeking truth is that civilization is based on a recognized artificial hierarchy. In other words, the social order that dictates what we can and can't do is a fiction. We are trained from birth to recognize our place in the current social order and simply accept that we are where we deserve to be. That being the case, nobody ever listens to the guy at the bottom of the pyramid. Most are so busy staring admiringly up at the very tippy top that they are completely unaware that there even is a guy on the bottom. At Luke chapter 4 and verse 24, Jesus acknowledged this tendency in those that he lived amongst. Verily I say unto you, no prophet is accepted in his own country. At the time when he said this, Jesus was not anywhere near the top of civilization's pyramid. Jesus knew what he was talking about from personal experience. The few that were willing to listen to Jesus was right down there at the bottom with him. If you're not familiar with the Bible, there are 4 books that are known as the Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Each book is unique. Very few of the things that Jesus said are recorded in all 4. But when Jesus said that no prophet is acceptable by the people that know him, all 4 writers made a point of recording it. As a human being, I have always felt a closeness to everyone that is a member of my own species. It's only through trial and error that I have figured out that sharing precious truth with just anyone can be dangerous. To once again quote Jesus as recorded at Matthew chapter 7 and verse 6, "Cast not your pearls before swine." This is one of those quotes of Jesus that was not recorded by any other Bible writer, but the concept applies nonetheless. Anyway, getting back to what I do on my super secret YouTube channel, Facebook page, and website. I teach truth. I only teach truth. I never attempt to manipulate anybody into any kind of religious agenda. And best of all, everything that I post can be easily proven using nothing more than your eyes and your ears and a little bit of common sense. Just to give you a sense of what you will learn should you choose to pay attention to the things that I am sharing with people, I will explain the single most important thing that you will ever need to know should you decide to look into what the Bible teaches for yourself. Most people believe that the Bible is some kind of rule book for achieving some kind of heavenly reward. But I knew from the very first time that I read the Bible as a teenager that that was not the case. If you do ever decide to read the Bible for yourself And remember what I am telling you today, you will recognize that what I am saying is 100% true. The Bible is nothing at all like what your priest, pastor, elder, preacher, or rabbi has been telling you. For a fact, the Bible is simply a written history of the war between God's kingdom and Satan's empire. This war is also spoken of in the Bible as the war between creation and civilization, and often as the war between the righteous angels and the wicked angels. Just this one little piece of knowledge will benefit you immensely the next time that you are desperately searching the Bible for those passages about God's hatred of gambling, sex, drugs, and rock and roll that your pastor has been talking about for all these years. The Bible is not a catalog of inconsequential religious nonsense. Once you begin to see the undeniable repeating pattern that I am talking about, you will not only recognize that the Bible indeed is about the war between God's kingdom and Satan's empire, but you'll be able to make an informed decision as to which side you want to be on in this war. Galatians chapter 5 describes the two opposing teams in this war as those who are minding the flesh and those who are filled with the Spirit. To put that in modern English, those who are minding the flesh are selfish people. Those who are filled with the Spirit are those who place the needs of others as equal to or greater than their own needs. Each and every one of us may think of ourselves as a little bit of both, but over time I've started to see that most people are very obviously exceptionally selfish, while others stand out as being exceptionally giving. There isn't as much gray area as one might think. According to God's Word, the Bible, each and every one of Satan's children is filled with an unclean spirit. Before any of us can be filled with the Holy Spirit, we have to be willing to physically separate ourselves from every source of spiritual contamination that civilization has in place. There are 3 reasons why I've chosen this particular moment in time for coming out into the open. One of those reasons that I have already talked about is the fact that most vile people on my YouTube friends list have left. Secondly, every month when I check my YouTube report, I can see that hundreds of my subscribers are sharing my videos on their Facebook pages despite the fact that I warned them not to. Several have reported to me that they are now getting as much hate directed at them as I got back when I first started posting to this Facebook page years ago. I feel that if they are willing to risk publicly posting the videos that I make and the articles that I have written, then it is only right that I do so as well. Third, I have recently been given information to share with humanity that has not been heard by human ears for at least 2,000 years. Knowing in my heart that this is the case, I am highly motivated to make sure that everyone that I know that might be willing to listen have the opportunity to do so. Many of you know me in real life, so I understand that it is difficult to accept that somebody that you know personally can be making such claims. I'm not the king of America, nor am I the high priest of Christianity. I am just what I look like, an old man living at the end of a dirt road on a piece of land that usually holds standing water. I'm about as much of a social outcast as a man can get without actually being homeless. Every week, I post 2 videos. One is usually just about the everyday stuff that I have to do in my regular life, the kind of stuff that anyone would talk about with their friends. Those who willingly listen to my teachings are my friends, and so it is appropriate that I tell them about my day. The second video is always about the very real world that we share, based on the teachings of the ancient past, not limited to, but primarily those that are found in the Bible. Right now, it is very important that you listen to me and listen carefully. If you have ever spent any time with me at all, then you know in general I try to make the people around me happy, which means that I do not hold back from joking around when it is appropriate to do so. Sometimes I even joke around when it's not appropriate. Please don't take my jovial demeanor as a sign that I cannot be taken seriously. Since leaving this Facebook account, those many years ago, I have been quite busy explaining many sacred secrets to my fellow man. When I use the phrase sacred secrets, I mean exactly what I say. Most of what I have been sharing with people, as I have already said, has not been heard by human ears for many thousands of years. Please, do not imagine that what I do is anything like what you have seen done before. I am not just some guy filming himself out in the woods talking about his personal opinions, nor am I sharing information that you cannot confirm for yourself. Soon enough, events are going to start taking place here on earth that your mind is simply not going to be able to process unless you know about them in advance. If you're willing to listen, I can tell you for a certainty exactly what's about to happen. If you were expecting God to assign some kind of theologian to this task, you're probably not buying whatever it is you think I'm selling. I can promise you this: God will not be sending someone else more to your liking. I'm pretty much all you got. Feel free to think of me as your final warning. Should you be undecided about whose side you want to be on in the war between God's kingdom and Satan's empire, just know that the next person to be talking to you about this subject will not be a representative of God's kingdom, although to many he'll appear to be so. He won't be dressed anything like me, and nothing out of his mouth will sound anything like what you will ever hear coming out of my mouth. Anyway, posted across the internet are literally hundreds of videos very much like this one produced by me. They have been viewed millions of times by thousands of people speaking hundreds of languages, living in over 200 countries. It is my hope and prayer that each and every one of you will think about the things that I just shared and imagine all that I could potentially share if you simply humble yourself enough to listen. What I'm going to do next is going to depend on the response that I get. I have ahead of me a very extraordinary task and very little time to see it through. I'll be signing off now, just as I have been signing off for the last 10 years or so. If you don't want to survive, don't listen to me.